Now we're going to use the elbow. Now we tend to use stances that are around Nai-fan-chi and Sanshin. Now, people always think Sanshin is like rooting and sticking to the floor, but when you look at Sanshin footwork or Nai-fan-chi footwork, it's actually a spiral, and it's a very mobile spiral, because then when you want to deliver power, you've only got to lift the back heel and transfer your weight from one foot to the other to be able to deliver power quite strong. So you'll see as we work through our system, we quite extensive use of Sanshin, Tensho, Nai-fan-chi, and when we do this form, which we'll do at the end here, you'll see that it's all done in Nai-fan-chi stance, and this also helps to control the internal system. So we start to learn about things like keeping your tongue to the top palate, sinking the chest, pulling in the lower abdomen, relaxing in around the waist and the hips, knees and the ankles to get down into the feet to be able to deliver power. Something we'll go into in much greater depth in the internal system when we do a DVD on Sanshin. But for the time being, just get the idea that Sanshin is like a spiral, it's like a circle, and mobile. Even used for boxing, kickboxing, it delivers this lovely spiraling energy and power through the body. Okay, so now we've got, from here, we've done the wedge, the spiral, the trap, the pull, and it's only as he breaks the traction of his feet, the postural alignment, his mindset goes, his breathing's disrupted, at that point, hit him. Now we're going to use 3 elbow strikes. Now we're going to use, well, 4 actually, up, down, round, and of course the 4th one would be back. Okay, so I'm going to show you how we use that, how we put it in, how we make good use. So on the first one, if Adam makes his strike, the first thing is the wedge. So in my mind, as he makes his attack, straight through, wedge. Now that wedge could also come straight through and grapple from behind. But what we're going to do here is stop it before it gets there, because we're going to trap. So we change the wedge to a spiral, to a trap, pull him until he goes off balance. Now we come through. Now there's this story of the guy who's putting in a fence post. And he's holding the fence post and he says, when I nod my head, hit it. When he nods his head, hit it. When you go in with an elbow strike, go in deep. If you really want to cause him harm, this would be going into the throat. But if you take his chin, that's fine. Whenever you practice these techniques, you've got to practice at a distance that's realistic. Okay, so from here as he comes in, 1, 2, 3. Now from here I'm controlling his leg. So I'm still using the idea of the wedge. So you can see I've got his balance here. Controlling his leg, controlling his body, controlling his head. His weight is over his heels, so he can't step back. I've hit him. So from there, if I want, I can now claw. And if I take him down, I'll go with him. So I'm still controlling the leg. My knee would drop into his groin, and this would strike into his face, fingers where the eyes are, and strike his head down onto the floor. So from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, knee, hand. All right. Okay, so that's the upward strike. And again, in the next power hands DVD that we do, these will then be taken into hand strikes. So you can already see where we're starting to deliver power and energy. So from here, from a Qigong point of view, we want to do all the muscles around the torso. You know, people always talk about flexibility being in the legs and the hips for sort of high kicks and things like that. But for us, because of this spiraling energy and power, because we use this animal clawing, pulling in type movement, these are the muscles that we want to work. So the reason that we like these techniques as well is here, it twists and stretches. And as you can see here, opens the ribs, opens the waist. A lot of power comes from shrugging. Shrugging the shoulders, shrugging the waist, shrugging the hips. So when we get more into power sourcing, the way that we shrug the entire body, different parts to be able to get and deliver power for locking, throwing, striking, when you're on the floor to be able to escape and get out. These ways of using the body are important, and this is an important way of exercising. So again, why do exercises when you can improve your technique at the same time? So here, up, open, stretch, and use the body for power. Open it. The next one is down. So in the same way here, when we deliver a downward strike, it goes up, stretches, opens, all the way through the spine, the neck, the head. So we open the body this way. We feel like every vertebrae in the spine is being opened right the way up, and then boom, collapse down. So stretch, boom, release. So this gives that upward and downward power. Can be used for slapping, hitting with a hammer fist. Here we're using it elbow. Okay, so now this can be worked and practiced in the same way. We've got the wedge, but this time we come round. Now here you can hook the hand, you can use the spiraling movement here to hit the gallbladder 20 point on the base of the skull here, everyone's favourite point. Right? But trap. Now we trap this way. Notice how I'm using the elbow to control him, using the wrist to control him. Now we step back, as he's got no hair to grab hold of, I'll grab hold of his gi. Pull him off balance, break all the traction before he gets a chance to get away, up and striking down. Okay, so the third and fourth elbow strike is round and back. So we've got the same idea of using the wedge, spiral, trap, pull, as his head reaches this point, strike round. Ideally you can be aiming for this point here, perfect, but if you hit this point here, that's fine. If you hit this point here, that's fine. If you hit this point anywhere really, it's a good strike anywhere around this area. But particularly if you aim for the deepest point, you're probably going to get one of those anyway. So round, notice the waist, twisted. So we fix the hips, we fix the stance, we fix the lower body, the waist or the torso itself turns, because this is what gives us power, particularly when we want to bring it back and return it. So if we don't fix the hips, we can't turn the waist against the hips. If we turn the hips as well, there's nothing to come back with. So to get this spiraling energy, this power and return, we need to be able to separate the waist from the hips. Now certainly in karate for years and years and years, everyone was hips, use the hips, turning the hips and so on. But we actually vibrate the hips and we link the hips to the wrist, and that's for another DVD as well. But here at the moment, we're particularly concerned with using the waist against the hips to separate it. And it's amazing how many people that have trained for years and years and years in the martial arts actually can't use the waist or the torso separate from the hips. So this is the flexibility you need to be able to deliver the power, round and back again. Okay, so this would be used if we use the same idea here. Wedge, ball, trap, break his balance, he's nodded his head, so around it goes as deep as possible, into here, and then back. If his head's turned that way, that's fine, you'll catch his nose. If he's turned his head away, then you go behind the ear with this strike. And of course, both strikes are separate anyway. It might be that you've moved in and done something here, and you wanted to give the strike this way, or just give that one in this way, and then turn him back with a throw or whatever from